With a shovel in hand, she roams the universe, exploring every land, no map, no reverse. Oh, dig a 420, curious Canuck. Answers on your mind, never getting stuck. Riding waves of stars through the cosmic sea, finding who we are in the galaxy. She's got questions to ask and a fire that won't die, unraveling each task under the sky. Oh, dig a 420, curious Canuck. Answers on your mind, never getting stuck. Riding waves of stars through the cosmic sea, finding who we are in the galaxy. She's got questions to ask and a fire that won't die, unraveling each task under the sky. Oh, dig a 420, curious Canuck. Answers on your mind, never getting stuck.
Because, you know. Hello, hello. How is everyone today? Give me just a second here. Oh, my goodness. Oh, that works better. Now I can see what I'm doing. I've got too many windows. Way too many windows. Okay, well, what's that then? Oh, okay. Oh, crud. Hi, Island. Too many windows. That's the one. Nope, that's the one. I like it, right? Oh, my goodness. There. For some reason, I've got 3 copies, or the book open in 3 different tabs, rather. Not sure how that happened. Any which way, good morning. I had to start about a half an hour late. I was just running behind and figured, I'd rather take the half an hour and get done and get here like this rather than running in, panting and out of breath. Hi, Credence. How you doing? However, we are here today. We are going to finish, prepare. So sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. We're going to finish prepare. We're in the last bit here. We keep getting, the problem is we're here in his favorite quotation section. It's the newest part that he's added to the book. There we go. And they're such good quotes that we tend to keep getting lost in the weeds. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, where is it here? We just started the quotations on faith. So I'll start at the beginning of that one again. That was just 2 or 3 quotations. We will read it through, and then we can discuss once I've read through all of them, as opposed to stopping for each section. Because it's taken us a long time to get through relatively small amount of stuff. So anyways, I hope you guys are all having a good day. I am. It's hot out as per usual, but I can't decide if it's going to storm or just be sunny. So it's a little overcast, very, very, very warm. And yeah, I'm just kind of expecting the unexpected. We occasionally have wild, crazy thunder and lightning storms out of nowhere, and they're done within 5-10 minutes, but just thunder, lightning, water, just everything goes crashing down. And it kind of looks like we're setting up for one of them. So maybe if it does go off, I can turn the camera and show you guys a really cool storm. Usually the sun comes out and it's still raining, but the sun is out at the end of them. It's awesome. So you've got the sun and the rainbow, and it's still light, misty rain. It's lovely here. I really enjoy it. Oh, you're a Frenchman, Credence. Okay. Yes, you might get flattered. I've got some French in my ancestry. Norse. We came from Norway. We temporarily stopped in France for a few generations, and then came over into America and straight into Canada. All right, here we go. The topic is faith, and these are some of Stephen Gosney's favorite quotations on faith. To one who has faith, no explanation is necessary. To one without faith, no explanation is possible. That's attributed to St. Thomas Aquinas. God looked at everything he had made and found it very good. Genesis 1, verse 31. Liberty cannot be established without morality, nor morality without faith. And later in the same work, despotism may govern without faith, but liberty cannot. And that was from Alexis de Tocqueville in Democracy in America, 1831. Yeah, most of us Canucks are muds. Yeah. I'd like to think that some of my family from Norway were some of the Vikings that came and discovered Canada and hung out here before going back to Norway. Long before they discovered Britain. They were in Canada, specifically BC, where I live, the West Coast. There's some really cool archaeology that shows they may have been here long before anyone else got to the New World. So, because we have no government armed with power, capable of contending with human passions, unbridled by morality and religion, avarice, ambition, revenge, and licentiousness would break the strongest cords of our Constitution as a whale goes through a net. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. That was John Adams' letter to officers of the Mass Militia. I think that's Massachusetts Militia, 1798. And he is absolutely correct. The Constitution and Bill of Rights were based basically on the 10 Commandments. Hello, Johnny K. You guys sniping me. Hello. Yeah, the foundation of the American government, the American people, was based on the 10 Commandments. The right of freedom of religion covers the first 4 commandments. And then your Bill of Rights is basically, it's basically the last 6. I thought I had the numbers wrong. But no, the first 4 is your freedom of religion, all tied up in a neat little bow. And then the other 6 take care of the rest. The only problem is if you have people with no morality, no moral code, or varying moral codes because of vastly different upbringings in vastly different countries and belief systems. The system as it is will not work, as we're seeing now. There is a lot of corruption and immorality in all of our governments, not just the Americans. I'm a Canadian. I know all about corruption in government, believe me. But yeah, because there's no morality, the laws that are put in place are completely useless. And that's the problem. We need to get back to a more moral, if not religious people, we need a more of a moral code. We have to agree on a certain level of moral standing and not budge from that anymore. Hello, Lexi. How you doing? Johnny stream sniped and reminded me. What a good guy that crutches fella, right? I'm pretty lucky. But either which way, I think John Adams knew exactly what he was talking about. Um, he could, I think they could all foresee a time when the people would no longer have that moral and religious compass that they're all following, all in agreement. We are establishing an all time world record in the production of material things. What we lack is a righteous and dynamic faith. Without it, all else avails us little. The lack cannot be compensated for by politicians, however able, or by diplomats, however astute, or by scientists, however inventive, or by bombs, however powerful. John Foster Dulles. It's a fatal illusion to think that evil ever dies. Dave Mustaine, Fatal Illusion, off the album Dystopia by Megadeth in 2016. And that's it. It's good versus evil. It's been there since almost since day one. What we'd say probably 8 or 9. if on the seventh day God rested, it wouldn't have been more than the Sunday or the Monday, like the next couple of days before devils come in as a spider or as a snake rather, tempting Eve with an apple, right? Like how long do you think they actually spent in actually that's a good thought question or thought problem. How long do you think Adam and Eve spent living in the garden after that first seventh day rest and before the devil came in as a snake and tempted her to eat the apple? How long do you think it was? Do you think they were in there a while? They got to like be comfortable and in that existence? Or do you think it was just the next day or two and suddenly devil's there, here's an apple, and now we're gone? I never really thought about it or if anything, I think I kind of assumed they were out within a couple of days after that first Sabbath rest. Lexi's saying, did you know that actual lamb's blood is a cure for some snake bites? I did not know that. Interesting. Is there time in heaven? I don't know if there's going to be necessarily like a 24-hour clock or anything, but there was 7 days. God counted out the days in Genesis when he first created the world and everything in it. He counted out those 7 days, ending with a day of rest on the seventh day, which always led me to believe, and from the looks of history, they've always worked on a 7-day week, right? So I would assume there's still going to be a 7-day week. I don't know if we've got 24 hours in a day still or how that'll work. If once we have our heavenly bodies, are we going to need to sleep? Because if we don't need to sleep, are we going to have nighttime anymore? You know? So loads of things. But I guess I always kind of just assumed that shortly after that seventh day, when Adam and Eve were just first settling in to Eden, that's when the devil came in. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think they spent more time in Eden before they got knocked out? You're waiting for the 8 Day Strong to catch on? 8 Day Strong. I've never heard of that. Oh my goodness. I don't know if I could handle dragging the week out by another day. 7 is just enough. It's either not quite enough or like the week is over before you realize, or else it's just dragging. I think if you put an 8th day in there, it would just ruin everything. Well, and that's another question too, because apparently there will be no their marriage or things like that. There won't be any sex in heaven. Angels don't procreate. There will be no procreation. That's the word I was looking for. Once we get our heavenly bodies, there will be no more babies, because we won't be procreating. So That's going to be an interesting change as well, right? Um, yeah. What are we all going to do? There's going to be no new people to fawn over and teach. if we're there forevermore, we're going to get bored with each other eventually. Maybe there will be spirit babies. Maybe there'll be something like that. Here are some more Richard M. Weaver quotes from Ideas Have Consequences, 1948. It will be found that every attack upon religion or upon characteristic ideas inherited from religion, when its assumptions are laid bare, turns out to be an attack upon mind. Okay. Piety is a discipline of the will through respect. It admits the right to exist of things larger than the ego, of things different from the ego. Once abolish the God, and the government becomes the God. G.K. Chesterton, Lecture 65, Christendom in Dublin, 1932. Those would be some interesting from that perspective in Ireland. The Protestant perspective in Ireland in the 1930s, 20s, and 30s. That'd be interesting to go down. Lexi's saying we're going to be so frustrated. Well, I think we're going to be above that. I don't think there's going to be that need, you know? Yeah, I wonder how he expected us to procreate before we left Eden. Like, would it have still been done in the same way? Or because I know that labor pains and stuff were added because we took the apple and ate of it and then gave it to Adam. That's why, we get the labor pains, we get the periods, we get all that stuff. So I wonder if that was not a part of procreation in Eden pre-sin. So what maybe that's whatever that was will be brought back instead. I don't know. If you think of a marriage as a limitation, since we don't have the capacity to be in full relationship with all people, we will potentially be more married in heaven. Well, and I think that's part of it too. We will be so much more interconnected amongst one another. You won't necessarily, we won't long for and need that partnership, that other half. I will be fulfilled. We will be able to be in full relationship, is what Island's saying. Exactly. Yeah, we'll be fulfilled without needing romantic love or sexual love. Lexi, I'd never get bored of picking Gosney's mind. I wish I had half of. Oh gosh, no. Damn it. Okay, this is the moment when I just remembered that he had that stream last night. I was supposed to watch it because Mighty took the day off. All day long yesterday, I knew there was something I was supposed to be doing. There was something important I was supposed to be doing. And I couldn't, for the life of me, remember what it was. And I went about my day knowing that I was forgetting something. And I even, like last night going to bed, like there's something missing. And it's not until now, the next day, that I remember that he had that special stream last night. Darn it all. I'll have to go back and rewatch it. Damn it. That was supposed to be a really good conversation. Damn it all. Shit. Yeah. That was supposed to be, if you didn't know, or if you, like me, forgot about it, or missed it, or didn't know about it, Stephen Gosney I will go and look up his Rumble right now. Um, shoot. He was having a friend, an unnamed friend, wanting to have a bit of a think tank sort of a stream, um, to, noodle over some specific ideas. Ugh. And he told us about it on Monday. And I knew I was forgetting something and I couldn't for the life of me remember what it was. There it is. Darn it. Um, oh, this is 4 days ago. So that wouldn't have been yesterday. Oh, so I would have really, really messed with it. I could have sworn it was Wednesday, and that's. Oh no, now I've got stuck with the Rumble things. Streamed on the 16th. It was yesterday. I don't know why it says 4 days on the main thing. It was last night, and I completely forgot. Darn it all. All right. Well, the least I can do is for those of you like me who are going to be on the replay crew. Oops. No, turn off. There we go. Out this video. I'm going to end up I'm going to become like my mom and my grandma. I'm taking after my grandma when it comes to my brain stuff, my slowly oncoming dementia and whatnot. But I'm going to have to take a note out of my mom's book. I'm going to have to buy like a stack of Post-it notes, and I'm just going to have to start sticking Post-its around the TV and on because I got these silly boxes that my deliveries come in every couple of months, and I write all sorts of stuff on them. And I will get around to them. I've got the boxes stacked up there, and I'm working on things written on them when I remember what I wrote them for. But because they're just written randomly in like random thought bubbles, it's just it's hard to keep track of them. And yeah, Google Calendar reminders for everything. I have that on my phone, but my calendar program started playing silly buggers. It hasn't done that for me yet, so maybe I can start using it again. I got a new phone, and so far so good. It's working the way it should again. So maybe I'll go back to trusting it. But it started erasing birthdays and appointments and stuff like that. It was getting really ridiculous. I got to the point where I was getting my doctors to write my appointments on actual physical pieces of paper again, just like the olden days, and sticking them on my fridge so I could so I would remember them. But yeah, I'll have to start trusting Google Calendar again. Because yeah, my life went to pot ever since it started doing that. It was just horrible. I've missed birthdays, nieces and nephews. It's all sorts of stuff. You make your doctors do that too, the physical, like, I need this card. Yeah. It's just safer that way. Ever since my old phone was a really old phone, like really old. So yeah, it was doing all sorts of funny stuff, not just messing with the calendar. But yeah, there's a lot of things I haven't done on the new phone, like go back to using the Google Calendar. I'm rarely on X now. I used to check it multiple times throughout the day. Now I'll check it maybe once or twice a day if I'm on my stream days, because I'll drop a, going live thing. So I'll be on X and I'll probably check the stuff then, but otherwise I don't look at it at all. Hi, Slidey Pie. How you doing? But yeah, darn, I'm really, really upset with myself. I'm sure it's going to be a great watch on the replay. Um, but I would have loved to have been a part of the conversation. Yeah, I am. A lot of my I don't know, a lot of stuff that comes in just slides right out again. My mom used to say, even as a kid, she used to say, you'd lose your head if it weren't attached by your neck. Um, I'd just lose it. I'd put it down someplace and forget about it. I've always been a forgetful person. Um, but yeah, the more this, the realities, the more I'm seeing the actual beginnings of the dementia, um, yeah, the more things I just lose. Really silly things. I like to joke, Slidey Pie, you caught it last night live. Good, 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 good. So was it awesome? I remembered as I was in mid read, I remembered that's what I was forgetting last night. I knew I was forgetting something all day. There was something important, and I couldn't figure out what it was that I was forgetting. And it was that stream last night. So yeah, unfortunately, I missed it. Really kind of disappointed in myself because that was going to be a really great conversation. So I'm sure he looks at his comments though. So if I've got any comments, I'm sure he'll read them. Lexi's saying I have a TBI from 18 concussions, so I feel you on the memory stuff. Yeah, just in and gone. It's fun for movies and TV. It's not so fun. I was a bookworm. That's why I do this, is because I used to always have, before people had cell phones surgically attached to their hands, I had a book surgically attached to my hand. There was always a book on me. But my inability to focus and take in the information. Hello, how you doing? Good to see you, Elvia. It's nice to see you. I'm reading a book right now. Well, I'm talking, but I'm supposed to be reading a book right now. How you doing? It's summer break for you. Yeah, are you used to having a brother in the house now? Was the baby okay, easy enough to get used to? Oh, you're supposed to be doing chores. Okay, well, I'm supposed to be reading. You're supposed to be doing chores, and we're both in chat. That sounds about right. All right. He poops a lot. Oh, well, babies do that. They do. Yeah. Do you get stuck doing too many diapers, or mom and dad mostly do it? I was pretty good at changing diapers, but I was like a pro babysitter by the time I was like 10. So your mom and dad. Well, that's lucky you. So you don't have to deal with that bit. That's good. Yeah, boys are kind of yucky. Just remember too, though, you have to go to the pool now. Bye. Okay, well, you have fun in the pool. I was gonna tell her with baby boys, you've got to be careful because they'll pee when you're changing their diaper. When the PV gets into the cold air, it causes them to pee sometimes just as a reaction, and so you get peed on in the face by baby boys. So you've got to be careful with that. Oh, did he pee on you? Oh, nuts. Yeah, baby boys do that a lot. Yeah, it's just a thing. Well, you guys have fun swimming, okay? Love you too. Bye. All right. Well, yeah, I will get back to work too. um, Once abolish the God, the government becomes the God. Yep. G.K. Chesterton. Hello, lass. How you doing? Hiya. Some things must be done on faith, but the most dangerous kind of faith is that which masquerades as science. Oof. Did we learn that? Did we learn about science? That was Thomas Sowell in Is Reality Optional and Other Essays, 1993. There you go. Faith, the most dangerous kind of faith is that which masquerades as science. Heck yeah. Science can purify religion from error and superstition. Religion can purify science from idolatry and false absolutes. Pope John Paul II, in a letter to Reverend George V. Coyne, S.J., director of the Vatican Observatory in 1988. Science can purify religion from error and superstition. Religion can purify science from idolatry and false absolutes. Interesting. I like that. Yes, Thomas Sowell is a wise man. Yeah, maybe that'll be a book too. I'm having a hard time getting my hands on. I'm sure I own a copy of it, but I can't find it for the life of me. So I'm not certain what book we'll read next. I might even just pull out my favorites or one of my favorites Heinlein books and read the Heinlein book, just because it's kind of somewhat relevant, I think, to today's time. And then if I get in trouble for reading his book on a live stream, I'll beg forgiveness, because I am having one heck of a time getting any sort of response from his estate. So I think I might just go the do it first and beg for forgiveness later. But after that, I'm trying to find my copy of How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think Thomas Sowell has he's got some great works. I could always do one of his. There's also C.S. Lewis has got multiple books that are not, Narnia related, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I've got a bunch of different ideas, but I can't find my copies of them. So I think what I'll probably end up doing is just reading one of my favorite Heinlein books. It'll be a short, quick read, but it'll hopefully give me enough time to get my hands on a copy. All right. I shall sell you. I shall sell you. No, I shall tell you a great secret, my friend. Do not wait for the last judgment. It takes place every day. Albert Camus, La Chute, 1956. That's true. You never know when your time will come. So you have to be ready. You have to be ready. You have to make peace, make friends with your God. A little bit every day. Otherwise, you're hooped. So many people just wait. Oh well, I'll take care of it later. I don't worry. I'll worry about him later. Or well, I go to church once a week. That's me doing it. And that's not enough, or at least not for the God that I know. I'm not that I'm saying that I am godly. I am not being as good as a person as I could be in relationship to my relationship with God. He's slowly slid into last place, and I'm aware of it, and he is making me aware of it as well. But yeah, it's like every time I make a good, healthy, large step forward in my betterment, in my better understanding of him and with him, it seems I backslide. It's like the old saying, one step forward, two steps back. That's the way I've felt lately when it comes to my relationship with God. It feels like it's a slog. Um, and I know that's on my end. I know that's on me. And I'm working on it. Um, but yeah, you can't let it slide. You can't let that part of your life slide. Um, you've got to have a good daily relationship with your God. I mean, whoever your God is. Um, you have to have a proper relationship with them. It can't be just a worship for a couple of hours on the Sabbath and that's good enough. It's really not. We've got a day by day, a daily study guide that I've stopped somewhere along the way. I stopped doing my daily studies, and the newest one, this latest quarter, was just dropped off for me. So I'm making an effort to actually do my daily studies again. You know, um, it shouldn't be an effort, and it is. And like I said, I know that's on my end. Um, so I'm going to keep pushing because I'd rather fail trying than just not bother trying at all. you know? So I'm going to keep at it, and I know it'll get easy again. It's just the phase I'm in. I know part of it has to do with my mental health. The depression, the anxiety, and the it takes over, and your brain starts doing those same circles again and saying those loops, and you get stuck in there, and suddenly, um, one of the hardest things in the world to do is to talk to God and just let go and let God, like when you get stuck in your depression brain, um, and the failure loops, it's very, very hard to hear him. So at least I've gotten to the point now that I know that. And so I keep pushing and slogging through anyways. Um, 'Cause like I said, I'd rather try but fail than not bother to try at all. Hmm. A summer friend. That's a good idea too. You read it on your channel last year? Okay, cool. Bishop saying, imagine being told that it's the end of the world and you are it. Well, I think they're all crazy and in a cult. I don't know if I am it. Um, oh gosh, I have to say something because Johnny pointed it out, and now I feel awful. It looks like my mouthpiece is disgusting and dirty. Um, it really isn't. It's a charcoal filter. So even with you soaking the filter, little bits come up and they get stuck in the plastic tip. And I never noticed that it showed up on camera, but Johnny pointed it out, and now I can really, really see it. And now I'm wondering how I can get rid of it because it does. It looks like it's filthy, but it's just the charcoal from the filter built inside the bottle. Now it looks filthy though. Look at that. Oh, it helps my teeth look whiter, maybe though. Yeah, I don't know if we are it. I don't know if we are the final last people. I don't know if we're at that point in the end of days, but we're definitely closer to the end of time than the beginning of time. Um, and I can see the the world is really falling apart. We also know those of us who watch history. Hello, Memento Mori. How you doing? Those of us who watch history, we know what happens to societies um, like our societies are becoming. Look at what happened to Rome. The more lewd and lascivious the closer we are to that whole breakdown. Um, yeah, I hope we're not in the real end of days, end of days. Um, my church, my own church, the world church, not the specific church that I attend each week, but the world church. Um, we're going through sifting and the shaking, um, as it was told of in the Bible. There are some serious disagreements being had, um, with the higher ups, about multiple different subjects, not least of which was the take on the jab when it first came out. Um, not least of which that, but it's wild and crazy, and it's you know, if we're the Church of Laodicea, um, we're definitely, I can see it because we are so indifferent nowadays. Our Western civilization is so indifferent to God, in general. God has mostly been wiped out of our day to day lives and out of our thoughts. Um, and that's happened over generations. It's not a sudden thing. Um, but in losing that, losing our touch with God, we lose our morals, and without morals, society breaks down. And we're definitely at the society breaking down point. So whether or not we're gonna, climb back up out of it again, or not, I have no idea. But no matter what, we are most definitely closer to the end days than we were to the beginning days at this point in our lives. Um, so yeah, I shall tell you a great secret, my friend. Do not wait for the last judgment. It takes place every day. Albert Camus, La Chute, 1956. The Bible is a primary profession of faith for Christians, so I would be remiss if I did not include some of my favorite biblical quotes. And forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Matthew 6, verse 12. That's a big thing. And I like that wording as well. Although in my head I always hear trespass, as as we forgive those who trespass against us. Um, because a trespass is more than just a debt. It's more than just something you owe someone. It's something you have done to someone. Um, yeah, it's more of something you have done to a person, not just something you owe them, but you've actually harmed them in some way. So yeah, I like, forgive us our debts as we forget our debtors, but forgive us our trespasses, is the one that I hear in my head. A moral debt. Okay, so beeping out there. Um, Lexi, I was raised Presbyterian, and we said debts, debtors, because owing an apology is a debt. Okay, interesting. A moral debt. Okay, so maybe it's just myself in my mind. I see debt, and I think money. That could just be the way I'm set. Because you're right, debts aren't just a monetary or an owing, um, of something physical. A prophet has no honor in his native place. John 4, verse 43 through 54. See also Mark 6. See also, okay. Oh, don't worry. Ugh. All right. John 4. Okay. John 4:43 through 54. Now, after the 2 days, he departed from there and went to Galilee. For Jesus himself testified that a prophet has no honor in his own country. So when he came to Galilee, the Galileans received him, having seen all the things he did in Jerusalem at the feast, for they also had gone to the feast. He said, see also Mark. Matthew, Mark, yeah. There we go. 6. 1 through 6. Then he went out from there and came to his own country, and his disciples followed him. And when the Sabbath had come, he began to teach at the synagogue, and many hearing him were astonished, saying, where did this man get these things? And what wisdom is this which is given to him, that such mighty works are performed by his hands? Is this not the carpenter, the son of Mary, and brother of James, Joseph, Judas, and Simeon? Simon. Oh my gosh, I need light. There we go. Use the TV. Is this not the carpenter, the son of Mary, and brother of James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon? And are not his sisters here with us? So they were offended at him. But Jesus said to them, a prophet is not without honor except in his own country, among his own relatives, and in his own house. Now he could do no mighty work there, except that he had laid his hands on a few sick people and healed them. And he marveled because of their unbelief. Then he went about the villages in a circuit teaching. Gosh, I really need to work on the light. And then, no, Matthew, sorry. Matthew 13. Look at that. 54. When he had come to his own country, he taught them in their synagogue, so that they were astonished and said, where did this man get his wisdom and these mighty works? Is this not the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary, and his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas, and his sisters, are they not all with us? When did this man get all these things? So they were offended at him. But Jesus said to them, a prophet is not without honor, except in his own country and in his own house. Now he did not do many works there because of their unbelief. Hello, Bowls Deep. How you doing? Both words work just for translations. Yeah. I think for me, I think it's a mental thing in my head. Money was very, very important. There was a lack of it at all times growing up. So it was very, very important, very aware of debt. So I think that's more a thing in me than that. But for myself, I prefer the trespasses. But yeah, like it's me. You've been told, O mortal, what is good and what the Lord requires of you, only to do justice and to love goodness and to walk humbly with your God. That's Micah 6, verse 8. Many Christian scholars point to the Sermon on the Mount as containing many of the primary precepts of Christianity. In the Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 7, verses 15 through 20, Jesus said to his disciples, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but underneath are ravenous wolves. By their fruits you will know them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Just so, every good tree bears good fruit, and a rotten tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a rotten tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit will be cut down and thrown into the fire. So by their fruits you will know them. Cursed is the man who trusts in human beings, who makes flesh his strength, whose heart turns away from the Lord. Blessed are those who trust in the Lord. The Lord will be their trust. Jeremiah chapter 17, verses 5 through 7. The armor of God is a concept that has helped me immeasurably in dealing with the evils criminal law brings into my presence. The Bible informs us on the battle against evil in Ephesians 6, verses 10 through 17. Finally, draw your strength from the Lord and from his mighty power. Put on the armor of God so that you may be able to stand firm against the tactics of the devil. For our struggle is not with flesh and blood, but with the principalities, with the powers, with the world rulers of the present darkness, with the evil spirits in the heavens. Therefore, put on the armor of God, that you may be able to resist on the evil day, and having done everything, to hold your ground. So stand fast with your loins girded in truth, clothed in the righteousness as a breastplate, and your feet shod in readiness for the gospel of peace. In all circumstances, hold faith as a shield to quench all the flaming arrows of the evil one. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. And now we move into ethics. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act, but a habit. It's Aristotle. That's bang on. Humility is the solid foundation of all virtues. Confucius. It was pride that changed angels into devils. It is humility that makes men as angels. St. Augustine of Hippo. Right is right, even if nobody does it. Wrong is wrong, even if everybody is wrong about it. G.K. Chesterton, in Chesterton Stories, Essays, and Poems, 1935. The real great man is the man who makes every man feel great. G.K. Chesterton in Charles Dickens, 1906. Success, that's the mystery. Virtue, that's what's inexplicable. To fail, you merely have to cultivate a few bad habits. You just have to bide your time. And once someone has spent enough time cultivating bad habits and biding their time, they are much diminished. Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos, 2018. And that's a lot of it, eh? A lot of it just boils down to bad habits. And a habit can be changed if you faithfully, like for me, for cigarettes, I finally got rid of cigarettes. I just needed something to take its place long enough to break the habit with the nicotine. And I'm at that point now. The only time I need the fume, well, that's not true. Every once in a blue moon, I still get a feeling like, geez, I should be going out for a smoke right now. You know, I still get that every once in a while, and I'll use it for that. But otherwise, the only time I use the fume now is when I'm out with the neighbors, because the neighbors, I'm friends with the neighbors, and we all try to hang out on the regular, once a week, a couple times a week, hang out together. Um, and when I'm with them, I need it because they're all smokers. Um, so I definitely I need my fume when I'm with them, but otherwise at home, very, very rarely do I feel like, oh, I need a cigarette. Um, but thankfully when I do, I have fume. Oh yeah, I'm loving it. But it's just a matter of replacing the bad habits with good ones. Um, and I know that's part of it too. I had a very good habit of reading the Bible every night before bed. And the last, I don't know, I'd say the last couple of months, last few months, um, my concentration has been so poor that I just stopped bothering to read at night. Um, but then I found that not reading at night changed the way I felt when I woke up in the day. So even though my concentration my is still I'm still having trouble with concentration at the moment, focusing and taking in what I'm reading. I'm forcing myself to read it again every night. Um, and hopefully that'll help me get back into it. That's part of why I read out loud for you guys. It helps my retention if I see it and read it, but then I say it out loud as well. I used to be able to hear and see the words and pronounce them and no problem. And nowadays there are times when I run into words that I know, but I see them written on the paper and I can't hear them in my head. And if I can't hear it in my head, I can't say it. I can't pronounce it. And it's so very, very frustrating. So frustrating because I know the word, um, but I can't hear it anymore. So doing this reading out loud helps me with the retention. It helps me um, remember words and make use of them. When I was studying back in my school days, I had to take notes and then I'd rewrite the same notes over and over again. And that's how I managed to imprint them in my head. It was the hearing them out loud, the reading them on paper, and the writing it. That's how it, stuck in my head. Um, so I'm kind of trying to do that. I'm not writing it out, but I'm reading it out loud, and it is helping. Hello, Saint Erin. How you doing? I knew someone who was quitting smoking, but they had the desire to have something in their mouth. They bought a bag of Dum Dums. Okay, I don't know what Dum Dums are. I'm assuming some sort of candy or something. Or do you mean like a soother? I love this foam thing because it actually has by spitting it around there. I don't know if you can see there's a hole there, so I can make the hole larger or smaller, so I can make the restriction of the airflow. They're suckers, lollipops. Okay, gotcha. Oh, okay. I know what those things are then. The kind of chalky, they are usually three different colors, like one top, one bottom, and one in the middle. Chalky things shaped like a UFO. But yeah, this is really great. And the mint flavor cores last for freaking ever. And it also flavors my coffee. If I want a flavored coffee, I get mint flavored coffee as long as I'm using this when I'm drinking coffee. But yeah, it was the hand to mouth thing. Um, so I'm doing this. I'm starting to not just do my walking. I'm doing a little bit of my strengthening exercises again. Um, I'm actually able to feel all of the abs up and down both sides. So that's something. I know I can feel it when I'm flexing and when I'm not. Like, it's cool. But yeah, the biggest thing for me was to get this, and I even used this. I still ended up going outside because I never smoked cigarettes in the house. Never liked smoking in the house. I always went outside to smoke. And when I first quit, or when I was first quitting, I would take this outside and I just suck on this outside. So I treated it just like a cigarette would. But then I realized I don't need to go outside to suck on this. And then, so I don't need to do the go outside thing, every 45 minutes anymore. So that's cool too. I've really gotten under control with this FOOM thing. It's really brilliant. Um, but yeah, like I said, it's one step forward, two steps back. I managed to boot the cigarettes, but I'm having trouble concentrating and taking in information, or retaining the information, I guess, right now. So I've just got to keep pushing through it, and I'm forcing myself to read. I'm reading and rereading Psalm 119 right now. So instead of doing a couple of chapters a night like I used to do, I'm just doing one section of Psalm 19 each night and kind of thinking on it before I go to bed. And I'm just about to finish it, and then I'll just restart, I guess. I don't know what else. But Psalm 19 has got some good thoughts. Makes me realize what I'm not doing, I guess, is more the thing. Psalm 19 is pointing out to me what I'm doing and what I'm not doing and where I'm missing. The FOOM is really expensive, Slidey Pie, really expensive. I think I paid like $165 Canadian for the FOOM and for 3 packets of 3 flavor cores each. It was like a starter set. So I got the thing, and I've got like 9 flavor cores plus the 2 that came with the thing, or the one that came with the FOOM. So 165 Canadian dollars, really freaking expensive. Being on disability, I cannot normally afford something like this. I had to dip into my trip fund for something else completely. And I figured at that point I might as well, because I really wanted to quit smoking. I'd been talking about it forever and talking about it, but I felt like I was talking out my ass. I knew I had to do it. So I broke down and did it. I invested the money. Best investment I've ever made. If I was paying $25 a pack of smokes, and I've been like 2 months, 3 months now. I can't even remember when I started. Oh, for 5, 6s. I didn't write it down. I'd have to go back, but it's got to be at least 2, 3 months now without cigarettes. So I've more than saved or that money, or I've already started saving money by having spent the money on this. Because yeah, $25 a pack, and I was doing, on a good day, I could make a pack last 2 days if I was lucky. So that's a lot of money. I was not paying that. I couldn't afford to pay that because I'm on disability. I was buying them from a different location. But that's a whole nother matter. Either which way, I am going to end up having saved a lot of money thanks to the investment in this. So if you are able to, like I said, I thought about the FOOM for years. I never had money. My dad sold his house, sold the family home, and he gave each of us kids a little bit of money. Not a lot. I'm not talking like I didn't even get, what is a 5? I didn't even get 5 digits. just a little bit of money. But that was one of the things I spent that inheritance thing on, was this. Yeah, it was a lot. 165 Canadian. It was less if I just bought this and it came with just the one cartridge. It would have been less money, but I needed the other 3 packets, flavor packets, like I've used them. The one mint one that comes with it lasts forever. Well, it lasts a long time, but it doesn't last forever. So it was definitely an investment. One of the good things is one of the neighbors is talking about paying me half of what I paid for it when I'm done with it, and I'll just give it to him and he can use it to quit. So I'll get back some of my investment in it, which would be nice. But yeah, it definitely an investment. I couldn't have afforded it for a long time, but when I was able to, I'm so glad that I did. It well worth it. Anyways, let's get back to these quotes, eh? um yeah, you immediately have to cultivate a few bad habits. You just have to bide your time. Once someone has spent enough time cultivating bad habits and biding their time, they are much diminished. Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules of Life, An Antidote to Chaos, 2018. There's some real utility in gratitude. It's also good protection against the dangers of victimhood and resentment. Your colleague outperforms you at work. His wife, however, is having an affair while your marriage is stable and happy. Who has it better? The celebrity you admire is a chronic drunk driver and bigot. Is his life truly preferable to yours? That's another Jordan Peterson 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos quote, 2018. We make men without chests and expect of them virtue and enterprise. We laugh at honor and are shocked to find traitors in our midst. We castrate and bid the geldings be fruitful. C.S. Lewis, The Abolition of Man, 1943. My favorite current metal band is Ginger. Their lead singer, Tatiana Schmilek, is master lyricist. Check out the song Dreadful Moments on their 2019 album Micro. Dreadful moments always last too long. This pain and woe just can't be gone. Childhood of misery is lifelong injury. Some people find this a bit simple, but I found it clever. It places 3 tests on whether you should repeat something negative about another person. Those tests are truth, kindness, and utility. Anyways, here's a test for determining whether something is repeatable or is gossip. Do you know what I just heard about your friend? Okay, I see what he's doing. So question answer. Um, Question: do you know what I just heard about your friend? And the first thing you got to think before you tell me, I would like to test you with 3 sieves. Before telling anything about the others, it's good to take the time to filter what you mean. I call it the test of the 3 sieves. The first sieve is truth. Have you checked if what you're going to tell me is true? If you say no, I just heard it. Very good. You don't know if it's true. We can continue with the second sieve. That's kindness. What you want to tell me about my friend, is it good? Oh, no, quite the contrary. And so you say, okay, so you want to tell me bad things about him and you're not even sure if they're true. Maybe you can still pass the test on the third one. The test is utility. Is it useful that I know what it is you're going to tell me about this friend? Not really. So you were going to tell me is neither true, nor good, nor useful. Why then did you want to tell me this? That's how you tell gossip. Gossip is the bad thing. In the beginning, it may seem enjoyable and fun, but in the end, it fills our hearts with bitterness and poisons us too. Whoso would be a man must be a nonconformist. He who would gather immortal palms must not be hindered by the name of goodness, but must explore if it be goodness. Nothing is at last sacred but the integrity of your own mind. Absolve you to yourself, and you shall have the suffrage of the world. Ralph Waldo Emerson, Self-Reliance, 1847. Manners are of more importance than laws. Manners are what vex or soothe, corrupt or purify, exalt or debase, barbarize or refine us by a constant, steady, uniform, insensible operation, like that of the air we breathe in. Edmund Burke, in 3 letters to a member of parliament on the proposals for peace with the regicide directory of France, 1796, 1797. Hello, American Century. I can't read. Do you mind sounding out the words? Well, that's okay. You don't even have to look at the words. I'll just read it all for you. We're at the tail end of the book, Prepare, a handbook on individual freedom by a friend of mine, Steve Gosney. Really brilliant man. I love to talk to him. We get to have such great conversations. And this is a really great book about making sure you're spiritually fit. You're spiritually ready. It's not pushing any particular God, just making sure that you are spiritually fit within yourself, with whatever your higher power is. You need to be, I guess it's about being morally sure, you know, sure of what your own belief system is. Because if you're not sure on that, then you're not going to be of much use to anyone. You need to know what you stand for and why you stand for it. And you need to know how far you'll go to stand for it. Labor to keep alive in your breast that little spark of celestial fire called conscience. Used by George Washington in Rules of Civility and Decent Behavior in Company and Conversation, as translated from Bienséance de la conversation entre les hommes. All right. Labor to keep alive in your breast that little spark of celestial fire called conscience. The time is always right to do what is right. Martin Luther King Jr.'s 1965 commencement address at Oberlin. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the anti-Nazi activist, while in prison waiting to be executed, reflected that stupidity is a more dangerous enemy of good than malice, because evil left behind in its conscious perpetrators a sense of unease. Here's the discussion of the issue by Bonhoeffer. Okay, I think stupidity is a more dangerous enemy of good than malice, because evil left behind in its conscious perpetrates a sense of unease. That makes more sense. So here's the discussion. Against true imbecility, even reasoning was useless, since you couldn't even appeal to your enemy's self-interest because they were too dumb to see it. Against stupidity, we are defenseless, he wrote, because imbeciles never feel a qualm. Against the stupid, neither protests nor the use of force accomplish anything. Reasons fall on deaf ears. Facts that contradict simply do not need to be believed. And when facts are irrefutable, they are just pushed aside as inconsequential, as incidental. In all this, the stupid person, in contrast to the malicious one, is utterly self-satisfied, and being easily irritated becomes dangerous by going on the attack. Who does that sound like? Anyone? Anyone? And we have allowed ourselves as a society to be dumbed down. Generation by generation, we have slowly allowed ourselves to be dumbed down to the point where we've got zillions of people who are trained in code, even though now AI is coding. But we are at such a deficit for anyone to do simple trades. Not simple trades, but just the basic trades. There we go. Basic trades. Basic things like carpentry, like plumbing, like electrical, pouring concrete, laying a roof, building a home, cleaning a home, cooking, actually, making real dishes. No one knows how to do these things anymore. We're at such a loss for people who can do the practical things, um, that it's harming us. It really is harming us. Um, I thought it was bad enough when we were stopping when common sense stopped being common, and then logic was being completely disregarded in the name of, you know, this cause or that cause. And it's true. Against true imbecility, even reasoning was useless because you can't appeal to your enemy's self interest because they're too dumb to see it. And that's just it. We're at a point, there are so many people who are just too dumb to understand the situation that we're in, that there's no way we're going to get them to understand what we need to do to fix it. We're just too dumb as a society. We're too dumb. Hannah Arendt's discovery of the banality of evil when he observed that true stupidity, real emptiness, is the most destructive condition of all. You are dealing with people who will pull the wings off a butterfly without even realizing they are hurting something. In conversation with the stupid man, one virtually feels that one is not dealing at all with him as a person, but with slogans, catchwords, and the like that have taken possession of him. Having thus become a mindless tool, the stupid person will also become capable of any evil and at the same time incapable of seeing that it is evil. This is where the danger of diabolical misuse lurks, for it is this that can once and for all destroy human beings. And it is this that we're seeing right now. They're willing to die for slogans and beliefs that they don't even understand why they believe in it. They can't even explain why the thing is, but they're willing to die for it in their own stupidity. It's cutting off your nose to spite your face. They have no idea how much damage they're doing to themselves. And honestly, even if they did, I don't think they'd care. Here are some more Richard M. Weaver quotes from Ideas Have Consequences, 1948. Hysterical optimism will prevail until the world again admits the existence of tragedy. And it cannot admit the existence of tragedy until it again distinguishes between good and evil. Hysterical optimism as a sin against knowledge. If we feel that creation does not express purpose, it is impossible to find an authorization for purpose in our lives. And last, for those who confuse intelligence with moral superiority, it is wise to remember there wasn't much of a relationship between ethics and intelligence. That was Jordan Peterson on the H3 podcast, number 37. So now we've got life and love quotes. The book of life begins with a man and a woman in the garden. It ends with revelation. Oscar Wilde in Act 1 of A Woman of No Importance, 1893. Tradition is a set of solutions for which we have forgotten the problems. Throw away the solution and you get the problem back. Donald Kingsbury, Courtship Right, 1982. Many people know that I enjoy stickly furniture. Part of this is that I love the philosophy behind the simple but high quality designs. The philosopher behind the American mission style was Gustav Stickley. Here are a few of his philosophical ideas. In an advertisement for the Craftsman magazine, Gustav Stickley wrote of a chair similar to the 369 Spindle Morris chair. This piece shown here is first, last, and all the time a chair, and not an imitation of a throne, nor an exhibit of snakes and dragons in a wild riot of misapplied wood carving. The fundamental purpose in the building of this chair was to make a piece which should be essentially comfortable, durable, well proportioned, and as soundly put together as the best workmanship, tools, and materials make possible. Here are some more quotes from Stickley. First, there is the bare beauty of the logs themselves with their long lines and firm curves. Then there is the open charm felt in the structural features, which are not hidden under plaster and ornament, but are clearly revealed, a charm felt in Japanese architecture. The word that is best loved in the language of every nation is home. There is no cure for birth and death save to enjoy the interval. The dark background which death supplies brings the tender colors of life in all their purity. George Santayana in Soliloquies in England, 1922. The only man who never makes a mistake is the man who never does anything. Theodore Roosevelt, 1900. Note that in 1896, Joseph Conrad published An Outcast of the Islands, which contained, well, well, it is only those who do nothing that make no mistakes, I suppose. But it's hard, hard. Earlier similar ideas also echo backwards. Of course, more Richard M. Weaver in Ideas Have Consequences in 1948. The typical modern has the look of the hunted. Life is entrusted to a man as a treasure which must not be squandered, as a talent which must be used well. Pope John Paul II from Evangelium Vitae, March 25th, 1995. Darkness can only be scattered by light. Hatred can only be conquered by love. Pope John Paul II in his address to the Diplomatic Corps, 2002. Many people know this quote about love from marriage ceremonies. Why wait until then? It's worth reviewing 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 13 today. 1 Corinthians is over here. Come on. Oh, no, I was there, wasn't I? I was. All right. This is considered the love chapter in the Bible. Again, this is 1 Corinthians chapter 13. All of it. It's not that long. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I have become sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, but have not love, it profits me nothing. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, and thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, and bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Love never fails, but whether there are prophecies, they will fail. Whether there are tongues, they will cease. Whether there is knowledge, it will vanish away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect has come, then that which is in part will be done away. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see in a mirror, dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know just as I also am known. And now abide faith, hope, love, these three, but the greatest of these is love. Mm. He's hitting a lot of my bookmarked spots today. So that's the love chapter in the Bible. Before you have anything else, you must have love. Love for yourself, love for your fellow man, and love for your higher power, whoever or whatever that might be in your world, in your view. Got to have a proper love relationship with that higher power. And if you feel like you're losing it, then work twice as hard to get it back, because it really does make a difference in life. There's a difference between a philosophy and a bumper sticker. Charles M. Schultz, Peanuts. Measure yourself by your best moments, not by your worst. We are too prone to judge ourselves by our moments of despondency and depression. Robert A. Johnson. The object of life is not happiness, but to serve God or the Grail. All of the Grail quests are to serve God. If one understands this and drops his idiotic notion that the meaning of life is personal happiness, then one will find that elusive quality immediately at hand. Robert A. Johnson, He, Understanding Masculine Psychology, 1974. Now we're looking at reason. Science is more than a body of knowledge, it's a way of thinking, a way of skeptically interrogating the universe with a fine understanding of human fallibility. If we are not able to ask skeptical questions, to interrogate those that tell us that something is true, to be skeptical of those in authority, then we're up for grabs for the next charlatan, politician, or religious who comes ambling along. Carl Sagan in his last interview, May 27th, 1996. Mayer's law states, if facts do not conform to the theory, they must be disposed of. With Mayer's law, the theory supersedes the fact. It is the fact that must conform, and it is the theory that we must strive to nurture, develop, and abstract. The method of how psychologists as scientists dispose of facts is of special interest. One of the most common is to give the facts a new name. In this way, they are given a special compartment and therefore cease to infringe on the privacy of the theory. Giving disturbing facts a name is almost as good as explaining them, because a name supplies a useful answer to inquisitive people. Other ways of disposing of facts are omitting them in reference books, and the most efficient method, that of failing to report them. Perhaps rats should be taught the theory they are not to follow. Any theory that cannot be quantified is inadequate, even if it works. This is Mayer, NRF in American Psychologist, 1960. I don't know if I like. I must be missing something. I'm hoping that they're like showing the obvious fallacy that is that statement. If facts do not conform to theory, they must be disposed of. That is the opposite. The fact is a fact, and we have to conform the theory, not change the facts. Here are a couple more Richard Weaver quotes from Ideas Have Consequences. I might just have to read that, although by now we've probably gotten half of it in here. The scientists have given modern man the impression that there is nothing he cannot know, and false propagandists have told him that there is nothing he cannot have. We live in an age that is frightened by the very idea of certitude, and one of its really disturbing outgrowths is the easy divorce between words and the conceptual realities which our minds know they must stand for. The definition of a fanatic is someone who can't change his mind and won't change the subject. Winston Churchill, circa 1952, who was perhaps quoting a saying from a decade earlier. Can a mortal ask questions which God finds unanswerable? Quite easily, I should think. All nonsense questions are unanswerable. C.S. Lewis in A Grief Observed, 1961. I think, therefore I am. René Descartes in Discourse on the Method, 1637. That which is proposed to be believed equally by all is equally unknown by all as an object of science. Such are the things which are of faith simply. Consequently, faith and science are not about the same things. St. Thomas Aquinas in Summa Theologia, 1274. Faith and reason are like two wings on which the human spirit rises to the contemplation of truth. And God has placed in the human heart a desire to know the truth, in a word, to know himself, so that by knowing and loving God, men and women may also come to the fullness of truth about themselves. Pope John Paul II, from the encyclical letter Fide e Ratio, 1998. It has been my object and unquenchable It has been my object and unquenched. Bleh. I don't know why I'm having issues. It has been my object and unquenched desire to kindle young minds and to guard them against the temptations of scorners by showing that the scheme of Christianity, though not discoverable by human reason, is yet in accordance with it. That link follows link by necessary consequence, that religion passes out of the ken of reason only where the eye of reason has reached its own horizon, and that faith is then but its continuation. Even as the day softens away into the sweet twilight, and twilight, hushed and breathless, steals into the darkness. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, Biographia Literaria, 1817. Rarely do we find men who willingly engage in hard, solid thinking. There is an almost universal quest for easy answers and half-baked solutions. Nothing pains some people more than having to think. Martin Luther King Jr. in Strength to Love, 1963. Looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Carl Jung, Letter to Fanny Bowditch, 1916. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. Carl Jung, Letter to Ken Digby Cully, 1931. You will never find anything in the unconscious that will not be useful and good when it is made conscious and brought to the right level. Robert A. Johnson, Inner Work, 1986. Economics. Financial success is found through conscientiousness and intelligence. Jordan Peterson. Consider this as well in regard to oppression. Any hierarchy creates winners and losers. The winners are, of course, more likely to justify the hierarchy and the losers to criticize it. Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos, 2018. You might object, I should be winning at everything. But winning at everything might only mean that you're not doing anything new or difficult. You might be winning, but you're not growing, and growing might be the most important form of winning. Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos, 2018. The effect of capitalism is to steer human selfishness so that through the invisible hand of competition, the energies of the capitalists produce the abundance from which the whole society benefits. Dinesh D'Souza in What's So Great About Christianity, 2007. The free society does not guarantee virtue any more than it guarantees happiness, but it allows for the pursuit of both, a pursuit rendered all the more meaningful and profound because success is not guaranteed. It has to be won through personal striving. Dinesh D'Souza, What's So Great About America, 2012. An unattributed business fable to sort out stakeholders goes like this. Question. In a bacon and egg breakfast, what's the difference between the chicken and the pig? The answer? The chicken is involved, but the pig commits. That's true. How did you go bankrupt? Bill asked. 2 ways, Mike said. Gradually and then suddenly. Ernest Hemingway in The Sun Also Rises, 1926. The real minimum wage is 0. Thomas Sowell. I have never understood why it is greed to want to keep the money you have earned, but not greed to want to take somebody else's money. Thomas Sowell, Barbarians Inside the Gates and Other Controversial Essays, 1999. Socialism is a philosophy of failure, the creed of ignorance, and the gospel of envy. Its inherent virtue is the equal sharing of misery. Winston Churchill's speech in Perth, Scotland, 1948. Conflict. If you find yourself in a fair fight, you didn't plan your mission properly. Colonel David Hackworth. The line separating good and evil passes not through states, nor between classes, nor between political parties either, but right through every human heart and through all human hearts. This line shifts. Inside us, it oscillates with the years, and even within hearts overwhelmed by evil, one small bridgehead of good is retained. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, The Gulag Archipelago, 1918 to 1956. No matter what the subject of debate in the Roman Senate, Cato the Elder used the phrase, furthermore, I think Carthage must be destroyed, as the conclusion to all his speeches. He used the single-minded repetition to push for what became the Third Punic War and the destruction of Carthage, circa 150 BCE. Repetition will create fact out of fiction. The last words attributed to Archimedes are, do not disturb my circles. Archimedes is an example of the tendency of intellectuals to live in their heads and ignore the more primal nature of man. These last words were uttered when he was confronted by a Roman soldier during the siege of Syracuse as he played with his mathematical calculations drawn out in sand. Archimedes was killed by the soldier's sword in 212 BC. If the battle for civilization comes down to the wimps versus the barbarians are going to win. Thomas Sowell in Ever Wonder Why and Other Controversial Essays, 2013. I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. Ripley from Aliens in 1986. Imagine a toddler repeatedly striking his mother in the face. Why would he do such a thing? It's a stupid question. It's unacceptably naive. The answer is obvious. To dominate his mother. To see if he can get away with it. Violence, after all, is no mystery. It's peace that's the mystery. Violence is the default. It's easy. It's peace that is difficult. Learned, inculcated, and earned. Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos in 2018. The only time no ever means no in the absence of violence is when it is uttered by one civilized person to another. Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos, 2018. George Washington delivered the first ever State of the Union address on January 8, 1790, stating, "To be prepared for war is one of the most effectual ways of preserving peace." With malice towards none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations. Abraham Lincoln's second inaugural address, 1865. That you have enemies you must not doubt when you reflect that you have made yourself imminent. Thomas Jefferson, Letter to James Steptoe, or perhaps George Rogers Clark, 1782. Nearly always governments which seek peace flag in their war efforts, and governments which make the most vigorous war preparations take little interest in peace. The two opposite moods consort with difficulty in the human mind, yet it is only by the double and, as it might seem, contradictory exertion that a good result can usually be procured. Winston Churchill, Marlborough, His Life and Times, Volume 4, Chapter 3. Now we're looking at truth. Truth is the foundation of all knowledge and the cement of all societies. John Dryden, in The Character of Polybius, 1692. I hope I shall possess firmness and virtue enough to maintain what I consider the most enviable of all titles, the character of an honest man, attributed to George Washington. No man has a good enough memory to be a successful liar, attributed to Abraham Lincoln. How many legs does a dog have if you call his tail a leg? 4. Saying that a tail is a leg doesn't make it a leg, attributed to Abraham Lincoln. Well, that's really fitting. A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. William Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, Act 2, Scene 2. The great enemy of clear language is insincerity. George Orwell in Politics and the English Language, 1946. Every war, when it comes, or before it comes, is represented not as a war, but as an act of self-defense against a homicidal maniac. In our time, political speech and writing are largely the defense of the indefensible. But if thought corrupts language, language can also corrupt thought. All the war propaganda, all the screaming and lies and hatred comes invariably from people who are not fighting. Political language is designed to make lies sound truthful and murder respectable, and to give an appearance of solidarity to pure wind. War against a foreign country only happens when the moneyed classes think they are going to profit from it. Nationalism is power hunger tempered by self-deception. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. On the manipulation of language for political ends. We have now sunk to a depth at which restatement of the obvious is the first duty of intelligent men. If liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. In times of universal deceit, telling the truth will be a revolutionary act. George Orwell, in Facing Unpleasant Facts, Narrative Essays, 1937 to 1939. It was ever thus. The beginning of reform is to resume calling things by their proper names. Confucius, circa 500 BC. True liberality, in short, consists of being able to imagine the enemy. The free man is not he who thinks all opinions equally true or false. That is not freedom, but feeble-mindedness. The free man is he who sees the errors as clearly as he sees the truth. G.K. Chesterton, The Bigot, 1910. The issue ultimately involved is whether there's a source of truth higher than and independent of man. And the answer to the question is decisive for one's view of the nature and destiny of man. Richard M. Weaver quotes from Ideas Have Consequences, 1948, of course. Intellectually, the activists of the New Left are the most docile conformists. They have accepted as dogma all the philosophical beliefs of their elders for generations. The notions that faith and feeling are superior to reason, that material concerns are evil, that love is the solution to all problems, that the merging of oneself with a tribe or a community is the noblest way to live. It was Ayn Rand in Return of the Primitive, The Anti-Industrial Revolution, 1971. The British historian Sir Lewis B. Namier, 1888 to 1960, wrote, "The crowning attainment of historical study is to achieve an intuitive sense of how things do not happen." I like that. The past is a foreign country. They do things differently there. L.P. Hartley in The Go-Between, 1953. Falsehood flies, and the truth comes limping after it, so that when men become to be undeceived, it is too late. The jest is over, and the tale has had its effect. Jonathan Swift in The Examiner, 1710. The greatest homage we can pay to truth is to use it. Attributed to both Ralph Waldo Emerson or James Russell Lowell. The heart should have fed upon the truth as insects on a leaf, till it be tinged with the color and show its food in every minutest fiber. Samuel Taylor Coleridge on Poesy or Art, 1818. While you live, tell truth and shame the devil. William Shakespeare in King Henry IV, Part 1, Act 3, Scene 1. When you want to help people, you tell them the truth. When you want to help yourself, you tell them what they want to hear. Thomas Sowell, Random Thoughts. It takes considerable knowledge just to realize the extent of your own ignorance. Thomas Sowell, in A Childish Letter, in his column at Jewish World Review, 1998. The validity of a doctrine does not depend on whose ox it gores. Robert H. Jackson in Wells v. Simmons, Abrasive Co., 1953. Okay. We are not final because we are infallible, but we are infallible only because we are final. Justice Robert H. Jackson, speaking about the Supreme Court in his separate concurring opinion in Brown v. Allen, 1953. Following this precept, I personally enjoy this black-robed exchange. The Florida courts addressed a continually raised claim by public defenders that a sentence of life without possibility of parole for the offense of first-degree murder is cruel and unusual punishment because the offense was committed when the defendant was 14 years old. Here's what the Florida appellate court said, scolding the public defender. The issue these lawyers raise is worthy of public debate, and they may feel strongly about it, but they must know that this post-conviction claim is procedurally barred in the state court at this time. They do not assist their client nor their clause by filing a motion that has no legal merit or by failing to disclose the federal case law dealing directly with their clients. Culpepper v. State, Florida, 2008. 2 years later, the Supreme Court of the United States wrote, this court now holds that for a juvenile offender who did not commit homicide in the Eighth Amendment, it now holds that for a juvenile offender who did not commit homicide, the Eighth Amendment forbids the sentence of life without parole. Graham versus Florida, 2010. This above all, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night the day. Thou canst not then be false to any man. Shakespeare in Hamlet, Act 1, Scene 3. The simple step of a courageous individual is not to take part in the lie. One word of truth outweighs the world. Alexander I. Solzhenitsyn. I know I'm saying that wrong because I know how it should be, but I can't hear it. Solzhenitsyn. That's even worse. Anyway, statement made after winning the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1970. Solzhenitsyn. Copy. Paste. There's his name. Facts are better than dreams. Winston Churchill, concluding The Gathering Storm, 1948. A recommended book list. Some books that I highly recommend for the prepared citizen. What should not have been lost has been forgotten. And some things that should not have been forgotten were lost. Galadriel in Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. Given the takeover of education by the ideologues, many essential ideas and books are being forgotten. In my first book, Ideas and Answers in Law, I gave a recommended reading list. The original list emphasized law. This list has been revised to reflect the content of this book. First and foremost, the Holy Bible. Repeated from above, but what can I say? You should know your Bible. And I will add in, if you can get yourselves a Strong's Concordance, that'll help you to be able to understand the ancient Hebrew and what the meanings were from their perspective. It gives you a much deeper understanding of the Holy Bible and the lessons within it. There are some things that English or the translations through the multiple different language and eventually to English, there are some terms that just aren't, um, cannot be portrayed fully with the word that they decided to use. And if you are able to have Strong's Concordance, you can go along with it, and see how it was written in the ancient Hebrew and get a fuller understanding of its meaning. It's really cool. I'm really I'm learning a lot using the Strong Concordance. Okay. Sorry, I've got a cat that's trying to walk through here. All right. Um, hello, sweetness. Hi, my sweet, sweet girl. Hello. All right. So first and foremost, read the Holy Bible. Um, Inferno by Dante, 1320. The great moral exploration by poet Dante ranks degrees of sin. Where else can you get a guided tour of hell? Dante finds that the punishments inflicted on the sinners are actually the very sins themselves that have condemned the sinner to their place. Reflecting on his own life and his own failings, Dante's descent into hell is just as relevant to our own morality as it is to Dante. Dinesh D'Souza has an excellent set of videos that serve as a guide to this book on his channel. You can watch as you read to better follow the content of the book. Hamlet by William Shakespeare, 1601. This play by the bard always seems to creep back into my life. It pops into my mind when I least expect it, no matter how much I stand thwart literature and yell stop. How about that Buckley paraphrase, Hayward? As a young Stetson University student, I had to memorize the third act soliloquy as part of an acting class. What was I thinking? In this monologue, Hamlet asks the existential question of to be or not to be. That is the question. He is so confused by the world that he questions the very basis of existence. This paralysis of complexity can be seen throughout our society. A good companion book to Hamlet is Transformation, Understanding the Three Levels of Masculine Consciousness by Robert A. Johnson, 1991. This book utilizes Hamlet as a Jungian archetypal example of the second level complex man, in contrast with the first level of the simple man as Don Quixote, and the third level enlightened man and in Faust. Johnson posits that the cause of much of the suffering and unhappiness in the Western world is due to the population being pushed into the second level without the ability to transform into the last level of enlightenment. Thus, much of our population is stuck in a Hamlet phase of complexity and unhappiness. Finding a solution to this dilemma requires enough people to do their inner work. Of course, Hamlet is also great literature. John Locke, Second Treatise on Government, 1689. Mentioned in the chapter about originalism in this book, I thought I should include it in here also. This is such an important work for the American government, this is such an important work for American government that every person should read this short tract. I often go back and reread the Second Treatise, and it never fails on intellectual stimulation on rereading. For more on the Second Treatise, see the chapter on originalism. The Law by Frederick Bastiat, 1850. Written 2 years after the Third French Revolution and a few months before he died, this essay was influenced. Sorry, I got it. Okay, well, don't get on the keyboard though. Sorry. The Law by Frederick Bastiat, 1850. Written 2 years after the Third French Revolution and a few months before he died, this essay was influenced by John Locke's Second Treatise on Government. It is a resounding critique of socialism. It is chock full of great wisdom. For example, when plunder becomes a way of life for a group of men in a society, Over the course of time, they create for themselves a legal system that authorizes it and a moral code that glorifies it. And the state is a substitution of a common force for individual forces. An interesting short read to compare it to today's political landscape to 170 years ago in France. It would be an interesting side by side, looking at it from our perspective in today's land. Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad, 1902. The story concerns a Belgian narrator venturing up the Congo River to discover the mysterious Kurtz, an ivory trader. In fact, the book is about much more. The isolated encounter with the primitive forces The isolated encounter with the primitive forces us all to look deep into our own hearts and review just how thin that veneer of civilization is. This book served as the basis for the film Apocalypse Now, one of my son's favorite movies. Brave New World, Aldous Huxley, 1932. Like 1984, A Brave New World is a work of fiction that outlines several possible dark futures, a worthwhile science fiction exploration of the problem of utopianism. What soma exists in our culture? Okay. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl, 1946. This book summarizes insights into a man's nature from the experience of a concentration camp survivor. Viktor Frankl's riveting account of his time in the Nazi concentration camps and his insightful exploration of the human will to find meaning despite the worst adversity has offered solace and guidance to generations of readers since it was first published in 1946. At the heart of Frankl's theory of logotherapy, from the Greek word for meaning, is a conviction that the primary human drive is not pleasure, as Freud maintained, but rather the discovery and pursuit of what the individual finds meaningful. What do you want? That's what I'm trying to avoid, kitty kitty. Thank you. Sorry. At the heart of Frankl's theory is a conviction that the primary human drive is not pleasure, as Freud maintained, but rather the discovery and pursuit of what the individual finds meaningful. Today, as new generations face new challenges, an ever more complex and uncertain world, Frankl's classic work continues to inspire us all to find significance in the very act of living, in spite of all obstacles. The Abolition of Man by C.S. Lewis, 1947. A Christian explanation of the need for faith. In The Abolition of Man, C.S. Lewis sets out to persuade his audience of the ongoing importance and relevance of universal objective values, such as courage and honor, and the foundational necessity of natural law. He also makes a cogent case that a retreat from these pillars of our educational system, even if in the name of scientism, would be catastrophic. The concept of men without chests should be understood and applies to today's political problems. The society of today worships the head. This brain centrism, without the aid of the chest, inevitably devolves into a Machiavellian war for domination. The rational mind worships its own logical creations. This is an improper place for worship, which should properly reside in the chest. The chest relies on honor. I envision the chest function as a crusading war for principle based on faith. This is the valuing function that distinguishes between good and evil or right and wrong. The bottom level is primal. Unconstrained tribalism results in wars for possession and wars for self-preservation. I often observe modern political debates where one debater scores a rational point against his antagonist. Rather than accommodate the error, the discussion immediately devolves into tribal name calling, since there is no chest function to cushion the impact of logical failure. From the book, we make men without chests and expect from them virtue and enterprise. We laugh at honor and are shocked to find traitors in our midst. You're really being a pain in the buttocks. You know this, right? You do know this. You guys, oh, you can't see it, eh? she's freaking adorable, is what she is. And she needs all the attention in the world. And to hell with me reading out loud or streaming or any of this other stuff. 1984 by George Orwell, 1948. George Orwell depicts a gray totalitarian world dominated by Big Brother and its vast network of agents, including the thought police. A world in which news is manufactured according to the authorities' will and people live tepid lives by rote. Winston Smith, a hero with no heroic qualities, longs only for truth and decency. But living in a social system in which privacy does not exist, and where those with unorthodox ideas are brainwashed or put to death, he knows there is no hope for him. The year 1984 has come and gone, yet George Orwell's nightmare vision of the world we were becoming in 1949 is still the great modern classic portrait of the negative utopia. The abolition of man? Okay. I'm not sure which. There's a bunch by him, but I wasn't sure which one I was leaning towards. So I might just do that one. The Gathering Storm by Winston Churchill, 1948. My vote for the greatest man of the 20th century. Churchill is a fascinating and detailed writer, and much of his work is worthwhile. The first book in his World War II set, The Gathering Storm, draws lessons from the run-up to World War II, including the appeasement of evil by the left. I have included the entire set, but really the first book is the one that has most relevance for today. If you actually finish his World War II set, I also highly recommend The River War from 1899, The World Crisis, written between 1923 and 1931, and Marlborough, His Life and Times, 1933 to 1938. Here's the description of the book. Hello, Duct Tape. How you doing? This book is the first in Winston Churchill's monumental 6-volume account of the struggle between the Allied powers in Europe against Germany and the Axis during World War II. Told from the unique viewpoint of a British Prime Minister, it is also the story of one nation's heroic role in the fight against tyranny. Having learned a lesson at Munich they would never forget, the British refused to make peace with Hitler, defying him even after France had fallen and it seemed as though Nazis were unstoppable. What lends this work its tension and power is Churchill's inclusion of primary source material. We are presented with not only Churchill's retrospective analysis of the war, but also memos, letters, orders, speeches, and telegrams, day-by-day accounts of reactions as the drama intensifies. We listen as strategies and counter-strategies unfold in response to Hitler's conquest of Europe, his planned invasion of England, and the assault on Russia. Together, they give a mesmerizing account of the crucial decisions made as the fate of the world hangs in the balance. The Gathering Storm covers the Treaty of Versailles, the rise of Adolf Hitler, the capitulation of Munich, and the entry of Britain into the war. This book makes clear Churchill's feeling that the Second World War was a largely senseless but unavoidable conflict, and shows why Churchill earned the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1953, in part because of this awe-inspiring work. The Road to Serfdom by Frederick A. Hayek, 1949. An essential text summarizing an economist's view of the causes of World War II and fascism. In The Road to Serfdom, F.A. Hayek set out the danger posed to freedom by attempts to apply the principles of wartime economic and social planning to the problems of peacetime. Hayek argued that the rise of Nazism was not due to any character failure on the part of the German people, but was a consequence of the socialist ideas that had gained common currency in Germany in the decades preceding the outbreak of war. Such ideas, Hayek argued, were now becoming similarly accepted in Britain and the USA. Look at us now. Lord of the Flies by William Golding, 1954. That was a great book. So glad they made us read that book. I would never have picked it up, except that they told us we had to read it for English class. What a wonderful book. An exploration of the evil that resides within all men. The fact that the men in the book are children makes the point even more dramatic. The book is a tragic view of the Lockean mind experiment laid out in his second treatise. The gradual devolution of humans into primitives encourages contemplation of our own tragic fate and where we are as a civilization. Alas, Babylon by Pat Frank, 1959. It's a fictional novel set in Mount Dora, Florida. Fictional novel set in Mount Dora. Florida contemplates a nuclear exchange between the Soviet Union and the United States. Written during the height of the Cold War, the novel does have some dated references, but the survival concepts that permeate the novel are just as relevant today. The Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, 1973. An essential text for understanding the end result of utopianism and socialism. While the whole work is valuable, the abridged version retains the essence of the work. I would recommend the version with the Jordan Peterson foreword. The Gulag Archipelago is his masterwork, a vast canvas of camps, prisons, transit centers, and secret police, of informers and spies and interrogators, and also of heroism. A Stalinist anti-world at the heart of the Soviet Union, where the key to survival lay not in hope, but in despair. The work is based on the testimony of some 200 survivors and on the recollection of his own 11 years in labor camps and exile. It is both a thoroughly researched document and a feat of literary and imaginative power. Okay. He, Understanding Masculine Psychology by Robert A. Johnson, 1974. While many today are familiar with the work of Jordan Peterson or perhaps Joseph Campbell, they are in essence reclaiming the legacy of Carl Jung. Jung's original works are quite dense, and popularizers of his ideas seem to have success in every decade. My encounter with Jungian thought came through Robert A. Johnson's short and easy-to-read book, He. Women should start with Johnson's 1976 book, She, Understanding Feminine Psychology. I often give his books to friends, but always recommend that one read their own sex's tome before trying to read the other side's programming. It aids in understanding the concept. Every book by Johnson has been eye-opening to me, but this is where to start. When Money Dies, The Nightmare of Deficit Spending, Devaluation, and Hyperinflation in Weimar, Germany by Adam Ferguson, 1975. This history gives us insight into the effects of a system-wide economic collapse in modern society. Sadly, given the lack of will on both sides for the idea of fiscal discipline and the coming inflation or stagflation, this book might give us some ideas on how to persevere in the future. From the Amazon intro, When Money Dies is the classic history of what happens when a nation's currency depreciates beyond recovery. In 1923, with its currency effectively worthless, The exchange rate in December of that year was $1 to a 42 billion marks, trillion. I don't know. There's too many zeros. They're dancing around. But either which way, a heck of a lot. We saw this more recently in, was it not Venezuela? Their currency was so fully devalued as to be useless. In 1923, with its currency effectively worthless, the German Republic was all but reduced to a barter economy. Expensive cigars, artworks, and jewels were routinely exchanged for staples such as bread. A cinema ticket could be bought for a lump of coal, and a bottle of paraffin for a silk shirt. People watched helplessly as their life savings disappeared and their loved ones starved. Germany's finances descended into chaos with severe social unrest in its wake. Money may no longer be physically printed and distributed in the voluminous quantities of 1923. However, quantitative easing, that modern euphemism for surreptitious deficit financing in an electronic era, can no less become an assault on monetary discipline. Whatever the reason for a country's deficit, necessity or profligacy, unwillingness to tax, or blindness to expenditure, it is beguiling to suppose that if the day of reckoning is postponed, economic recovery will come in time to prevent higher unemployment or deeper recession. What if it does not? Germany in 1923 provides a vivid, compelling, and sobering moral tale. Lucifer's Hammer by Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle, 1977. It's a fictional novel contemplating the end of the world as we know it. The novel begins with with a window into the trivial nature of much of modern life. It is only when a comet threatens the world that the reality of nature's power thrusts everyone into absolute survival mode. Surviving Economic Collapse, The Modern Survival Manual by Fernando Aguirre, 2009. This book was written after his firsthand experiences during the 2001 economic collapse in Argentina. Focused more on the location, stuff gathering, and self-defense aspects of the challenge, it is an eye-opening account of how economic disruption can impact our lives in a dramatic way. People's Republic, Kelly Turnbull Book 1 by Kurt Schlichter, 2016. Meow. Is this novel a joke, an adventure, a warning, or all of the above? Set in the not too distant future, the absurdity of left-wing politics is laid out in a future where the United States splits up between political lines. The hero of the book is a special military operator who is quick on the trigger and deadpan in his humor. 'Cause why not, right? I'm not doing anything at all. Meow. The hero of the book is a special military operator who is quick on the trigger and deadpan in his humor. Venturing behind enemy lines, the no-nonsense Turnbull dispatches blue hairs one after the other with his 45 caliber 911. Silly, but also a fun read and hopefully not prophetic. I'm looking for that one for sure. The dark secrets of the shit hit the fan survival. The brutal truth about violence, death, and mayhem. Are we going again? Okay. You must know to survive by Selko Begovic, 2019. Selko survived the Balkan War in a city under siege without electricity, running water, or food distribution. It's a good reality check on modern civil war and takes a different view of optimal survival location and strategy. Chapter titles include The Difference Between Your Plans and Reality, The Shocking Reality of Shit Hit the Fan, and The Shocking Truth About Death and Violence. I hope these books provide some insight and understanding into today's world and a dark period in the future, which we should pray never comes, and for the bright day that is your today. Don't you even? We're so close to done. So close to done. About the author, Mr. Gosney currently works in private practice. Previously, he worked as an assistant public defender at the Public Defender's Office, 7th Judicial Circuit, a position he held from 2010 to 2024. His duties included drafting appeals for indigent clients, and he is qualified for death penalty appeals. As part of his regular practice, he trained new appellate and trial attorneys and offered strategic and tactical advice to the Public Defender's Office trial teams. In June 2024, he moved to Miami, Florida, where he worked in the Miami State Attorney's Office. It is better to have tried and failed than never tried at all. He hoped to train new prosecutors and assist with the office policies, including ethical compliance. Mr. Gosney is board certified by the Florida Bar in criminal trial law. He attained his Bachelor of Arts from the Stetson University in 1990, majoring in history. He earned his law degree from Washington and Lee University School of Law in 1999 and his master's degree from the University of Central Florida in 2017, specializing in criminal justice. Before serving in the Public Defender's Office, he worked for 6 years in private practice as a civil litigator and 6 years in the office of the State Attorney John Tanner as an assistant state attorney. Before law school, Mr. Gosney worked in nonprofit association management, including 3.5 years as CEO of Volusia Home Builders Association. Mr. Gosney writes on a wide variety of subjects. In addition to this book, Prepare, the Handbook for Individual Freedom, try Ideas and Answers in Law, Solutions to Common Problems Confronting the Criminal Lawyer, Death Penalty Debates, Net Positive or Net Negative, The Summer Friend, Surfing, Music, and Growing Up, and his children's book, Brucey the One-Eyed Wonder Dog, and his novel, Death Penalty Desires, Passion, Lust, and Murder. His 2 short books, Great Quotes on Law, Faith, and Life, and Automatic Gardening, Why and How to Create a Simple Hydroponic System, are incorporated into this edition. Also available is Death Penalty Designs, Maximum Due Process, a book cataloging the legal deficiencies in Florida's death penalty statute. All are available from Amazon. In 2025, look for his next children's book, My Difficult Dog. He's also writing a short story. He's also working on another short story. Mr. Gosney also taught criminal law for the Law of Self-Defense Law School and appeared on Andrew F. Bronca's Law of Self-Defense webcast and other law-related webcasts. Previously, Mr. Gosney appeared regularly on the Mark Bernier radio show on WNDB. A Rumble and YouTube channel includes discussions of music, life, faith, and many other topics. But that's what he does. This book contains samplings of who he is: a father, a husband, a friend, a mentor, and a freedom-loving individual. Go to StephenGosney.com to buy Steve's books and music or to donate to his work. And that, my friends, is the end of Prepare. If I can highlight. There we go. Copy. Here's paste. You can, I had to see, this is why it's easier if you just don't come here, Kat. Okay, good. There we go. Copy, enter, and paste. There you go. There's StephenGosney.com. You can find all of his works there. You can check out. I dropped a link a little earlier in the chat for the stream that I unfortunately and unwillingly, and well, I don't know. I didn't want to miss it, but my memory has holes like a sieve, and I knew I was forgetting something important yesterday. I just could not for the life of me remember what that important something was. Turns out it was this stream done by Steve on his Rumble channel. It was a great brainstorming discussion about political freedom. I am very disappointed in myself for not remembering what it was in time to see it, see it live and join the conversation. But I'm sure you guys will learn a lot, as will I, just by watching the replay. We'll get a lot out of it. I always get something out of Steve's stuff, even if he's just talking about, music. There's always something to learn. And he's always got something important going on. So thank you guys. I did go over by a half an hour, even though I started a half an hour late. So yeah, I'm really running late to the other show that I usually pop into at the end of these things. So Just Kidding LLC on YouTube, Twitch, or Rumble. I'm headed there for the last half hour of show. Next Thursday, there will not be a reading stream. I need to find a book. So I'm going to take next Thursday morning off. All right. But then I'll figure out what book it is and we'll pick it back up a week from next Thursday. Okay. So you guys have a great rest of the day. It is 2:00 here. So 2 hours from now, I will be live on my channel here again to chat with you guys in chat about whatever the heck takes your fancy. So I'll see you guys in 2 hours. Bye.
Change from day to day. Science, art, or history's play. No path too twisted, no trail too thin. She dives right in where to begin. Ask her anything, nothing's too obscure. She'll dig and dig a spirit so pure. From ancient lore to future dreams, every question finds its gleam.